Israel's army has given the green light to plans for a possible offensive into southern Lebanon, ratcheting up tensions between Israel and the pro-Iranian Hezbollah militia. The Israeli foreign minister threatened to destroy Hezbollah if it comes to an all-out war. His statement came after Hezbollah hinted it could attack the northern Israeli port city of Haifa. Hezbollah released drone images, which it said showed areas around the city. The Israeli army released this footage, which they say shows airstrikes against several Hezbollah targets in southern Lebanon. Clashes between the Israeli army and Hezbollah have been nearly daily since the start of the war in Gaza in October. Well, for more on this, let's cross over to our correspondent in Jerusalem, Rebecca Ritters. Rebecca, launching a cross-border offensive in Lebanon sounds like a drastic move given current conditions. How likely is it that Israel will go ahead with this?
Well, just how likely is almost impossible to say with complete certainty, Terry, but the probability is rising every day as we see the rhetoric and threats from both sides also rising. And now we're seeing this plan by the IDF saying that it has been greenlit. Now, that follows visits by both Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and Defence Minister Yoav Gallant, who've toured the north in recent weeks, and both have said to the IDF soldiers up there to be prepared, that they, are certainly preparing and willing to launch a full-on conflict with Lebanon, with Hezbollah in southern Lebanon, should they deem it necessary. And as you mentioned there in your lead-in, these images purportedly showing a Hezbollah drone that has come in and captured several sites in northern Lebanon that they potentially then would threaten to attack, and that drone then returning, if it is indeed true, to southern Lebanon, and then them being able to release the footage is certainly a threat from that side. And now we're seeing, greater ramping up of rhetoric from the Israeli side as well. Now, there has been a border dispute between Israel and Lebanon for many years, and Amos Hochstein, the US envoy, has been trying to broker a deal between the two sides for some time. Now, we are seeing that as we see this threat since October 7, these near-daily skirmishes escalate. It's certainly looking like a full-blown conflict could be very possible. Certainly, I was up in the northern part of Israel recently speaking to residents, many of whom, some 70,000, have been evacuated from that northern border region, and they said that they wouldn't return home, or some of the ones that I spoke to said that they wouldn't return home unless there was an all-out conflict with Hezbollah to push it back further away from the border, that they simply wouldn't feel safe even if there was a political solution.
Now, tensions in the region are extremely high. Many are worried about conflagration consuming the Middle East. What could help de-escalate tensions between Israel and Lebanon at this point?
Well, there have been diplomatic efforts ongoing, certainly since the early days of October, when things kicked off on the 8th of October with Hezbollah responding to the war in Gaza and saying that they were going to do what they could to tie up Israeli resources in the north. So we've been seeing diplomatic efforts to try to stop this spreading into a wider conflict, with the US bringing warships into the Mediterranean to try to prevent anything from spilling over. But those diplomatic efforts haven't reached any final conclusion. The US envoy that I mentioned before, Amos Hochstein, he was recently, just this week, in Israel, talking with leaders here, trying to figure out ways that there could be some kind of political solution. He says a political solution is definitely possible. He's now in Lebanon. He's been speaking there with leaders from the Lebanese government, trying to work out how best they could come to this political solution. But so far, we haven't seen any fruits of that labour that have been successful. We certainly haven't seen a downplaying or a calming down of tensions in that region. In fact, quite the opposite. So the received wisdom of people you speak to here is it's not a matter of if, but a matter of when, Terry.
Rebecca, thank you very much. DW's correspondent in Jerusalem, Rebecca Ritters.